Hello and welcome to the Business Spotlight interview series. I'm your host Anu Khanna, and today I'm joined by Nick Denny, a very well-traveled man who's the managing director of Bellrock Property and Facilities Management. Bellrock is a technology-enabled business in the property and facilities management services. But let's hear more from Nick. Nick, would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Anu. Hi. So I look after a business called Bellrock Facilities Services, Workplace Services. And as you say, we're a tech-enabled business. The Bellrock Group has three businesses within it, has a technology business, consulting business, and a workplace services business. And I run the workplace services business, which is about 1,100 people. It's UK-based. And we look after the assets in a whole range of buildings, from schools to hospitals to offices, any building really. And we use our technology to generate data, and that data then enables us to improve the compliance of the assets in a building, to manage the risk on behalf of a client, and also to manage their spend and hopefully reduce their spend and offer them value. And it's a very necessary business. Every building has these assets, and Bellrock has a fantastic technology platform which underpins our service.
Wow, that sounds like a really inspiring business. Having three parts of the business, and I just the sound of it, it sounds very complex and inspirational.
Yeah, I mean it is complicated in some ways, but I think part of what we have to do is simplify it for our customers, and because of the technology platform that we have, that we own the proprietary software, it makes us different to most other facilities companies who don't have their own software, so they have to rely on third parties for development. And we have a large number of engineers who go around and perform services for our clients. But in addition, we also offer total facilities management services for some clients, where we might not just work on hard FM. We might also work on a whole range of other services for clients. So it's a very interesting business that's becoming increasingly data enabled.
Wow, fantastic. And you said you have 1,100 people just in the services business.
Yeah, so 1,100 all over the UK.
Wow. So share with us, what's the secret formula for this growth that the organization has achieved?
So I think we have with good people in good positions in the business, and that helps. We have experienced people who lead the business, who understand our industry. We're backed by a private equity company who are actually fantastic owners of the business and give us access to capital. They push us to buy lots of other companies. We're a very acquisitive business. We generally buy 3 businesses a year, and we'll keep doing that for the next few years. And that adds complementary capabilities to your business, which means we can offer better value for our customers. So I think that's a key part of our journey. And we're not as big as the big players in this industry, and I think that means we can offer a more personal level of service.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Really great offering that you have. So what would you say are your biggest learnings? This podcast will be heard by thousands of business owners. So what would you like to share as your big learnings in the business?
Yeah. So I think one of the first meetings I had with my senior leadership team, when I wanted to set the conditions for how we would work, I actually put together 4 learnings that I've got from my career that I wanted to share with them. And the first one is operating at pace. And I feel there are lots of businesses that don't operate at a high enough pace. They always want to achieve or have 100% of the information before they make decisions. And they wait too often. And there's too much stodge and inertia in a business. So I think successful businesses have to really operate at pace. And that's one thing that I always want my leadership teams to do. The second thing is really around collaboration. And again, I think there are lots of businesses that different departments and teams don't work effectively together. Maybe it's politics, maybe it's defensiveness. But I think as a leader, you have to pull teams together And by collaborating, you can deliver so much more. I think the third secret, if you like, is really around feedback. I'm a massive fan of feedback, and someone once described it as the breakfast of champions, and I think it is. You know, it's you should always deliver feedback to people so they can improve, but you also have to be encouraging and offer people the chance to give you feedback, because that's how you can grow as well. So I think that's really important for individuals and leaders to grow. And then the fourth area that I think has been a underpinning of my journey anyway, really has been taking responsibility and accountability. Again, in businesses, I think you need people to stand up and to be responsible for the part of the business that they work in, and to be accountable for its results. And if you can engender that form of responsibility and accountability, then I think you can be so much more successful.
Fantastic. This was almost like 4 key leadership principles that you have shared. No, really good. So how do you make these happen? Because I love these: operating at a pace, success loves speed, collaboration and teamwork, giving and taking feedback, responsibility and accountability. How do you inculcate this? How do you get this embedded in the organization?
So I think, I mean, it starts at the top, obviously. So as a leader, you have to embody the values that you're trying to bring into a business. And then you have to spread those values throughout your leadership teams. And I always, I mean, my team would say I'm very demanding, and I think that's because I'm always challenging them. And I think a part of that is operating at pace, and a part of that is about feedback. And I'm always asking why. Why do we do it a certain way? Have we thought about doing it this way? And so I think if you can ask lots of questions and encourage people to work much quicker, you know, when people who work for you might tell you it takes 3 weeks to do something, well, you know, you'll say, no, we can do this in 2. And things like that, you just have to pick up the pace rather than accept that the meeting lasts an hour. Let's get this done in half an hour. Let's deliver more quickly. And I think if you can just embody those values and those behavior characteristics, then the business can follow you.
Fantastic. It really sounds like you're leading from the front, leading like you're an ambassador, and you're developing more leaders in the business. And when you're developing more leaders, the business would, of course, grow. Is this what you attribute the growth of the organization to, or are there other factors as well?
So I think the growth of a business, it comes down to many factors. But I think if I think about my journey and the different companies I've worked for, I would say the first one really has been about being receptive to feedback. And I can think of some feedback I was given nearly 20 years ago now, and I can still remember it now, where we were going as a team through a big coaching experience collectively as a group. And someone said to me that I was scared to fail. And that's a very interesting thing to say to someone, because it implies that you're always in your comfort zone. And I think one of the ways that growth comes is through taking risks. And one of the questions I often ask people in my business is, when was the last time you failed? And I think if you have to sit there and think about the answer, then maybe you're not taking enough risk. And so I think growth comes through taking some risks and calculated risks, obviously. But I think if you can do that, then you can grow, and businesses can grow, and people can grow. I've been very lucky. I have a great coaching as well, Anu, and that's really helped me to understand who I am and what my strengths are and how I can develop. I was very lucky that I was a military officer for a few years, so I had fantastic leadership training as well, which really helped and challenged me in very demanding circumstances. And then I think the other thing that's really helped me to grow is some other feedback that I was given once. Is someone said to me that I wanted to be liked. And at the time, I didn't appreciate that. And it took me a while to work out that actually in business, what you need to do is actually challenge and take some tough decisions. And it's not about being liked, but it's about doing the right thing by the business and doing the right thing by all those people who work in a business who expect to have a fantastic working environment. So I think I've learned quite a lot from feedback that's helped me to grow as an individual and has hopefully then translated into businesses performing well.
Absolutely love that. Really some great insights from your military background, and you've done some coaching. That's fantastic. So, you talked about giving and taking feedback, really being productive, you're demanding. How do you ensure that your employees reciprocate in the same way? How do you recruit the right people really? What qualities are you looking for when you're recruiting your team members who would be in line with the 4 points that you have shared with us?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I mean, so I always look for drive and passion in employees, because I think if you have that, then people will be able to find ways over, under, through, round the obstacles that are always in the way in any business setting. So I always look for drive and passion in people. I'll always look for people who are curious and ask lots of questions. And it can always be dispiriting if you get to the end of an interview and you say to someone, do you have any questions? And people say no, because I think that they're not curious enough about the business and about what they might be asked to do. And then I think the third thing I always tend to look for in people is self-awareness. And I always want people who can understand areas that they need to improve or feedback that they've been given. I think that's really important. And then I think how you then foster success and a productive work environment is, I think, having a clarity of priorities is very important. So I sat down with my leadership team this year and I got every one of them to, on a flip chart, write down what their 5 prioritized objectives were for the year. And it was interesting that there were some people who struggled to do that. And to me, if you don't have clarity of purpose, then you can't be successful. So that's really important. I think not accepting the status quo is another trait that fosters a very productive work environment. If you can challenge people and you always ask them questions and always ask them why they do things, then I think that helps, and that can really foster a great working environment. And then I guess it comes back to feedback. I mean, I'm always giving feedback to my team about things. So I think that really helps as well, having a productive work environment. And then finally, the advice someone once gave to me, which has been so true throughout my working life, has been always hire people who are better at what they do in their role than you are. And I've seen lots of leaders who I think maybe they lack the confidence to hire great people because they fear they might be challenged. And my philosophy is the opposite. I always want to hire the best people I can that will challenge me, because that's how, as a business, we will grow. So hiring great people is the key to success.
Yes, I really resonate with that. This is something I learned during my previous organization, hiring people who are better than you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So yes, when you hire the right people, it's easier for them to be on right people, right seats. What if you inherit people who are not right people, or the seat is not right? What do you do then?
So the default for me is I always will try and coach and help people who maybe are not where you want them to be. But I think eventually you have to make the decision that it's time to change. And I've had lots of those conversations with people throughout my career. And it's the right thing to do, because they're not being successful and it's probably not the right role for them. So you have to let them go and you have to find other people. And it's, Anu, it's a constant search. I interview people all the time for different roles because I'm always interested in the talent that's out there. And you just have to make those tough decisions, and you have to get away from the feedback of I want to be liked and get to the feedback around what do I need to do to be successful. And so sometimes you have to make those tough decisions, and people have to leave the business.
Yes, and I totally agree. A growing company is always looking for the right talent. As you said, you're continuously hiring and therefore you're continuously growing. So myself and all the audience that are listening to you can already see the secret success, because it really comes, I can really hear it, the leadership. in the organization, within yourself, you developing more leaders, that really is a key for growth. Yes.
Yeah.
What would you say have been the challenges, or what challenges are you facing when you are focusing on leadership and growing the organization?
So I think the first challenge is always, I always think of it as it's like a three-legged stool, any business. So I think the first leg of the stool is you have the foundations of the business. And the second leg is almost the trading position of the business. And the third leg is the transformation that you have to do. And I think any business is always has to do all three of these at the same time. And that's the biggest challenge, because there are always the foundations in a business that need strengthening and need reinforcing. And then you have a trading position because you have owners and they can be very demanding about a trading position. So that takes up a lot of time. But at the same time, you have to transform your business. And there's so much literature on this, but it's completely true that the change is constant and you have to constantly be evolving and transforming. And if you can work with people and teams that can do all three of these at the same time, you've got a greater chance of success. But it is difficult because you're juggling many competing demands in your time. And it's also a skill set that some people don't have, because some people might struggle to embrace change. Some people might like to stay in their comfort zone. So you need to find people who are comfortable with what is a constant state of transformation and evolution, because your customers don't stand still. They're constantly demanding new services, new activities, better value. So you have to constantly move with them. And, you don't always get it right, but you have to constantly transform to stay ahead and to deliver the growth expectations that businesses have.
For sure, change is the only constant in life. You just look in last 3 years, how much change we have. We're living in a world of change, and if we don't continuously adapt, we're far behind.
Exactly that.
No, some really golden nuggets. It's been like a session on leadership, on change
Yeah.
management. Thank you very much. Any parting words for our audience, Nick? Any last piece of advice to the business owners out there, who are still sort of finding their way in their leadership and the growth?
I think the final comment I'd give to people, if you want to grow as an individual, then you do have to seek feedback from others, and you have to reflect on that feedback and act on it. And sometimes it can be really difficult and very challenging. But if you do that, that's the path to growth as an individual. And if you grow as an individual, you'll have an impact on those around you. And I think that's the responsibility that you have as a leader, is to impact those people around you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you for sharing nuggets on leadership, on your journey, and on the growth journey of the organization. So our audiences have definitely benefited from this. I know I have taken lots of notes while listening to you. So I'd like to thank you for your time. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, and it's been a pleasure.